Hey guys, it's Grand Admiral Thrawn fan, and I'm back with another Black Series review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at everyone's favorite Ewok, Wicket. Now, this is going to be a bit of a special video because Wicket is not exactly the same size as my average figure review, so I'm going to need to do a lot more close-up shots for this video. Other than that, it shouldn't be too different. And yeah, so I hope you're ready to see one of my Black Series reviews. The reason I haven't been doing so many lately is because, well, I've basically gone through almost all of my figure collection, so I kind of have to space them out a lot more. But don't worry, I'll still be doing figure collecting, and so by that logic, I'll still be doing Black Series reviews. Although I don't buy the figures just to review them. I buy them and then I get to show you them. Anyway, I'm stalling here. Let's get underway with this figure review of everyone's favorite Ewok, Wicket. Now, I actually really like what Hasbro did for this figure. They gave the Ewoks their own unique mold because, like I just said, Ewoks different than an average figure. So what I really like the most, I think, is how they captured the Ewok fur. Now, if you look up closely, it's a lot easier to tell in person because you can actually feel it. They gave this figure texture on the fur. Like, for example, on the arms, you can see how it's all tangled and just ratty, kind of. That's to represent how this Ewok is fuzzy and adorable, but also a murder machine. I really like how they did that. They did a great job of it. You can feel it and you can see it. They did a really amazing job there. On the feet, you can see how they got the amount of toes an Ewok has. They did the same thing with the hands. I really like that, of how the toes and like the bottom of the feet have their own coloring, and then the same can be done with the hands. That's really good. Speaking of the coloring, the best part of this figure is how they did the Ewok's face is actually white, like there's those white patches of fur, and then even underneath his hat, I don't know what you'd call it, underneath his clothing, you can see there's like the white belly to show the different spots of fur. I do actually think you can remove his hat, but I don't want to do that because I don't think I'd be able to get it back on. But that adds something to the figure. You can actually like see underneath where his hood is and what would be underneath that. This is its own separate mold that they attached onto the Ewok mold. And they did a really good job of that. I really like, if you look at his face, they got the teeth design. That's really good. But his eyes actually reflect. That is awesome. I really like what they did there, of how you can look into this Ewok's eyes and just see the adorable cuddle machine. So, yeah, that's going to do it for Wicket for now. I will probably come back to the figure, but for right now, I want to talk about his accessories that they gave Wicket. So, Wicket is known for being the Ewok with a spear, so they obviously gave him his iconic spear. And I really like that. You can see the point and how it's sharp and everything. It's not actually sharp, but you can see that of where the point of where the stick ends and where the rock spear begins. It's actually kind of like circular, and it just pops right into Wicket's hand. That's really cool. And something I like is that it actually stays in his hands, and you can have him hold it with both hands. A lot of normal Black Series figures have a problem of where you can only give them their weapon in one hand, but with Wicket, he can fit the whole spear in both hands at the same time. Now, this is an issue I have with this figure where I'm actually going to need to bring price into the review of this figure. So this whole figure, all you get is Wicket and a few extra accessories, but they still charge you the same price of an average Black Series figure, which is $25. I think this is an amazing figure, but they do not get, that is not right. They should not be charging you the same price as an average Black Series for one Ewok plus a few extra accessories. I'm actually going to talk about the accessories because I do really like the accessories. I'm just trying to make the point of that this should not be the way this is. Like, that's kind of unfair and robbery because for his extra accessories, you get two of these little staffs, which the first one is a stick with a rock tied onto it. And it's pretty cool. I do actually like that. And it's kind of a cool thing of how you can change out Wicket's weapon. I think the second one is also just a stick with a rock on it, but it's like a staff for an Ewok. The third accessory is actually a really cool one. You get a bow and arrow. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually fire. This is the best you can do. Yeah, it doesn't actually shoot out. I'm kind of bummed about that. But all three of these accessories are really cool. Well, all four of them. But these bonus accessories are really cool, and they do stay in Wicket's hands. It's just, Wicket's known for being the Ewok with the spear and also the main Ewok. He doesn't need these. They should have just released the figure as slightly cheaper, and it would have been better. Like, I think, or even just throw in a second Ewok. That's what I would have done, actually, because if there were two Ewoks in this box, then yeah, that actually would make sense. And then you could throw in the extra weapons, and I feel like that would be a fair trade of 2 Ewoks plus extra weapons for the price of one average figure. But unfortunately, that's not what they did. I'm going to come back to the figure real quick. I want to talk about his box. He's part of the Return of the Jedi wave. He's actually number 11, which is pretty cool. I like the green, and that's actually a really cool picture of Wicket, and it lines up really nice on the wall art. I'm not actually a fan of these boxes. I've talked about it before, but basically, they're a lot more flimsy, and also you can't even get to see the figure before you open it. So sometimes they can get damaged from just being in this loose box. I do still think it's a cool box. It's just, I prefer the boxes that come with the plastic that allows you to actually see the figure. But yeah, Wicket is number 11 in the Return of the Jedi wave. Wicket was the brave young Ewok who was willingly joined the rebellion and aided in the battle against the Empire on the forest moon of Endor. You have no idea how hard it is to see that wearing this Mando helmet. But I pulled it off. Anyway, some more final thoughts I have on this figure. I really like what they did with his little hood, of how you can see the dirtiness and just like all these marks and wear and tear. They gave that detailing on it. His little ears, I like their detailing. And I just really like this Ewok's design and detailing. I think they did an amazing job of making him to scale with your average figure. By the way, real quick side note here, Maul Shadow Lord, it's good. It's really good. Anyway, back to the Wicket review. So, yeah, I really like what they did with this figure, and even though I really am bummed about the pricing, I kind of got the figure secondhand, because when a Black Series figure like this happens, of where it doesn't sell well because either it's not worth that price or just something else, they end up being sold at like Five Belows and stuff like that, and that's not really fair. I feel like they should have just made this 2 Ewoks, and the figure would have done a lot better. But with all that being said, I still do think this is a really good figure, and I do highly recommend it, especially if you're an Ewok fan. By the way, are Ewok haters even really a thing anymore? I don't know. Anyway, I do think this is an amazing figure. If you're a Return of the Jedi fan, or an Ewok fan, or a Wicket fan, you should pick one up. I'm going to be giving it a 9 out of 10 simply because of like the whole box, and this is the only thing you get with a few extra accessories. But I do still actually really like this figure. It's a nice one in my collection. Oh, one more thing real quick. He comes with arm articulation, but not knee articulation, which is a cool detail because the Ewoks don't walk like that. They kind of walk like how they'll move their legs like this in order to walk. So that is a really cool detail. But with all this being said, I'm going to be giving this figure a 9 out of 10. This is Grand Admiral Thrawn fan signing off, and I look forward to our next encounter in my next video. And if you enjoyed this video, I actually did a missing Black Series figures list for Return of the Jedi that I'll link in the description. But yeah, this is Grand Admiral Thrawn fan signing off, and I look forward to our next encounter in my next video. Yub nub.